Let's have a look at credit cards. Here's a summary about them. So you've probably heard of credit cards in your life. The two common ones are a Visa or a MasterCard, different to a debit card. The idea behind them is that you're buying something on credit, which means you didn't have the money to start with to buy it, so you're being loaned it, if you like. And so that's actually a debt that you need to pay off. So there's always some terms and conditions about credit cards. If it's not paid off by the due date, you usually get, say, 25 days to pay it off, then you are charged interest on that debt. So if you do pay it off in the interest-free period of time, you not get charged interest. But if you don't, it's usually of quite a high rate that you have to pay. My advice to you, don't get a credit card ever in your life. As perhaps a maths teacher, maybe it's my job to have that conversation with you. If you've heard of a book called The Barefoot Investor, they've got a kid's version and an adult version. Have a read of that. That would convince you why not to. So yes, I don't have credit cards. I just have a debit card and a mortgage. And sometimes you might have a car loan, but my advice is steer clear of credit cards. There's your little lesson there. A little bit more on this. There is often extra fees involved with them. So there's often an annual fee that you have to pay, maybe $30. Other account keeping types of fees that you might be charged. Once a month, you'll receive your statement, and that's going to list the purchases that you've made over time. And you'll have bought things at different points in time within that month. And if you haven't paid for the purchases within those 25 days, here's the catch. The interest is accrued from the date when you spent that amount. So if that was a long time before those 25 days kicked in, then you could be charged interest on a very long period of time versus if you bought an item just before you received the statement and before those 25 days of interest-free kicked in. Let's go through an example in just a second here. How is the interest calculated? It's actually simple interest that it's worked out a period of time. So just a reminder of this formula, the interest is equal to the principal times the rate times by the time. So how many days in the year? Here's an example. Jessa Rose purchased a laptop for $450 on June 25th. She used her Visa card with an interest rate of 16.9%. Her statement showing this purchase arrives on June 27th. So having a think about these dates, she bought it on June 15th and the statement arrives on June 27th. And she's given 25 days from that point in time, which would be until July, this time 22nd, to pay the balance without receiving any interest. What's the effective interest-free period on the laptop? So we've got a visual here to help you imagine what's going on. June 15th, when she bought it. June 27th, the statement arrives. So how many days in there has she not had to pay interest? There's 12 days there. Then what happens? She's given 25 days interest-free, if you like. So another 25 days after June 27. It's often helpful to think about where the months end. So 3 days to get to the end of June, and then 22 more days takes us where into July, the 22nd. Alrighty. And then we have to calculate the two questions that we're being asked here. I'm sort of combining these a bit. What if she pays before the 22nd of July? And what if she pays after on the 25th of July? So any days after the 22nd, that's classed as days overdue. And that would be 3 days there. But there's obviously the catch that we need to take into effect there. Okay, so first of all, what's the interest-free period on this laptop? How long did she have? The interest-free period runs from the date of purchase, June 15th, through to 25 days after the statement was issued. And according to that diagram, can you see how many days that's going to be then? The 12 days to start with here, up until the statement, plus the extra 25. So she gets 37 days interest-free. Cool. So if she paid for that on the 22nd of July, so that's before the it was due, so it's due on the 22nd. If she paid any day in before then, how much interest is she going to have to pay? None. So it's charged as no interest because she's paid back the debt, so that's an interest-free period. So that is one advantage of credit cards, that you do get a period of time to be able to pay things back for free if you are able to do that. But here's what happens if you pay it after, because it's not just 3 days of interest. It's actually been around for 40 days. It was 37 days of interest-free and then 3 more days. Here's a little visual to help with that. How would we calculate that? The interest is $450 times by the rate. So that's quite a high rate, 16.9%, which said that at the beginning of the question, over the time. So it's the time in years. We don't have a whole year, it's just a portion of a year. So 365 days in a year, and therefore 40 is the amount, the proportion of that. So it's $8.33 in interest that she has to pay. Okay, let's do another example without that table. We have to work it through, without the visual, I mean. So on April 10, Alana purchases a new washing machine for $850. The card attracts an interest rate of 18.2%. Her statement arrives on April 24th, and she is given 25 days, which takes us to May 19, to repay the debt. So what's the interest-free period on the purchase? So the days before the statement, how many is that in between? So it arrived on the 24th, subtract the 10th, and that's how you get 14 days. It doesn't include the 10th itself. That's classed as day 0. So if you could use your fingers to count from the 10th to the 24th if you wanted. Then the days until the end of April, 6 days there, not including the 24th because we've actually already counted that one. So this is where we're now counting the 25 days, and now we have to go into May, the 19 days of May that we've got there. Not including the 30th, but it does include the 1st to the 19th of May. Okay, so how many days is that all up? Adding those three numbers, the 14 and the 6 were on the previous page, and then we've got our 19. So she gets 39 days of interest free. Cool. There's got to be an easier way to count this than having to use our fingers or working it out all in segments. And there is. So have your graphics calculator handy. You'll get much more out of these videos if you do this along with me. So going to your menu, your financial menu, depending on which model of Casio that you're on, it could be still called TVM. Then within that, you're going to have to arrow across to F6, and on that next menu is F2 days calculation. Having a look here, the way you type it in, you start typing, you don't push enter. That's what I noticed the other day when I was refreshing my memory how to do it. So it's the month first. So you type in 04. Please be doing this on your calculator with me. For the month, so we started on the 10th day, so 10 for that, and then 2023 for the year, up until the fifth month, the 19th day, 2023. If there's something already in that D spot, you can just leave it there. But if you want to type a 1, do that. And then you're going to hit the button for the PRD, predicting however many number of days, 39. So make sure you're doing that so you get the same number as me. If we're asked to calculate the interest charge for Alana if she pays off the debt on these two different dates, so before May 19th, any day before that due date, how much is it going to cost her? Nothing. The interest will be 0 if it's paid off beforehand. But what about May the 20th? So how many days is that? So we had 39 days of interest free, which we've worked out using our calculator, the day calculation. 39 days up until the 19th. And how many days past that is it? Plus 1 to get to May 20th. So we've got, obviously, 40 days of interest that needs to be calculated. How do we do that? Using the I is equal to P times R times T formula. What was our principal amount here? It was $850 times by the rate. What was that? 18.2%. As a decimal, 0.182. The time in years. We don't have a whole year. We have a portion of a year, certain number of days. We have 40 days. Calculating that, the amount of interest is $16.95. So that's how to do these interest questions. There's some questions to do now, but just an extra thing. If you've seen these 200s flashing up, I'm just doing a little celebration for myself that I'm pretty sure this is my 200th video. So thank you for joining me. If you've only ever watched one, thank you for watching this one. If you've watched many, thank you as well. I'd appreciate it if you could share it. If you're in my school and in my class, thank you for being a part of my class. If you're watching this from another school, thank you for watching it. Share it with other people in similar year levels or your teachers so that they can share it around. I know of other teachers that share it with their classes too, and that's an honour to be shared with other students. So thank you for watching.